friends, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Agnes. I am a data scientist. I live in Kochi. At this point, this channel is a lifestyle channel. I share my experiences working as a data scientist, trying to live healthy, things like that. In today's video, we are going to discuss my favorite podcast so far. So I first got introduced to podcast in 2018, I think, and it was on Spotify. So I found On Purpose with Jay Shetty, and the first episode that I listened to was about money management. When I got my first paycheck, I was earning during my master's in the form of a stipend. That's why I was interested in that particular topic. So first of all, if you prefer like a blog or something, you can check out my blog. It's on agnesaugustine.com, and I will definitely link it down below. You can just scroll through it if you don't want to watch the entire video. I'm naturally drawn towards health related podcasts, productivity related, personal development related, a little bit of philosophy, spirituality. That's the kind of podcast that I'm drawn to. So you will see a lot of them here. I cannot express the amount of knowledge and wisdom that I have got from all these podcasts. Long form content is amazing because for some reason it kind of makes you connected towards the speaker, and it kind of gives you all the nuances and the context. So I love long form content. Two of my favorite long form contents are audiobooks and podcasts, because I can just plug in my earbuds and I can listen anytime when I'm working in the kitchen, when I'm doing my chores, when I'm traveling, commuting to office. So I love podcasts. I will be sharing my favorite ones here. A lot of people that I meet in person also asks me how I improved my English, because I'm not a native English speaker, and I'll say podcasts helped me a lot. So let's jump into the video. So the number one podcast I would suggest is Doctor's Farmacy with Dr. Mark Hyman, and this particular podcast has taught me a lot about my own health and diet and the things that or changes that has happened to my body due to my diet, and what to eat, what to like include in my diet, things like that. So I might have published a video about my gluten-free diet and experience before this video comes out. So if I will link it here. I mentioned this podcast in that video also. It helped me a lot to understand how my body reacts to different diets and food items. So he's a functional medicine doctor, so he kind of treats diseases from the root. So that kind of living definitely helps a lot in living a healthy life. He usually brings other expert doctors or guests like that, and then they discuss about the food industry, the business behind it, the epidemic of chronic diseases that's going on, the reasons, different underlying root causes, things like that. It's very good if you're someone who prioritizes your health, and if you're someone who wants to understand what's going on, how to change or transform the foundational habits which will lead to a good health, then you have to check this podcast out, and you won't regret. Number two is On Purpose with Jay Shetty. I think he recently started a podcast channel. Earlier it was on his own channel. If you know Jay Shetty, he was a monk, and he has this spiritual, slow living, meditative approach to life, and he invites guests and they talk about all their life, their spirituality, health, things like that, and it's very refreshing. It's a really good podcast to listen to, especially if you're a beginner. I think it's very soothing, to be very honest. So they cover happiness, health, money, several topics. So my favorite episodes are his interviews with his wife Radhi. So the third one is Huberman Lab, and it's an amazing podcast. If you are a nerd or a geek and you are also interested in personal development, you will love this, because this dude is a neuroscientist, and Dr. Andrew Huberman is a neuroscientist in Stanford University, and this podcast is amazing. Like, they have really long episodes, but the information each and every episode pack is insane. Like, he breaks down very complicated concepts in a way that we would understand. That's the main highlight. This is packed with information and there's no fluff. So you can take an episode and it may take few days to like complete, but it will give you so much information and practical tips to improve your life. That's the key. So I love it, especially this episode about sleep, the importance of sleep, and dopamine. The episode about dopamine gives you like, makes you question every decision that you have taken so far in your life, and it's just amazing and mind-blowing. So check that out. Next one is Lex Fridman podcast. So Lex is also a professor in MIT. He works in robotics and AI, but his guests include a lot of experts, a lot of people. He invites guests from a lot of backgrounds, and even if he doesn't agree with their perspective, he just is such a good interviewer, and he asks deep intellectual questions that challenges guests as well as his listeners. And the niche of this podcast, there is no niche. You cannot give a niche to this podcast. They discuss everything from love to AI in their own way, so it's amazing. Another podcast that has had a lot of impact in my own health is Impact Theory by Tom Believe. So his goal is to enable people to achieve their full potential. He's a very good speaker, very good motivational speaker. The way he speaks is amazing, and the way he interviews their guests is also amazing. He just asks the right questions. They talk about a lot of things: business, creativity, health. I think they still has a playlist called Health Theory, where different doctors would come and he would interview them, and those episodes has helped me a lot with my own health, my own gluten sensitivity, and the hormonal problems that I face. It gave me a lot of knowledge about how our body works. So this is also a podcast both in business, entrepreneurship, and health category that I would suggest. Next one is my favorite podcast, Deep Dive with Ali Abdaal. I think it's very underrated. Ali Abdaal is a doctor. He is based in UK, but he's a junior doctor, and now he doesn't work as a doctor. He's a full-time YouTuber with somewhat around 4 million subscribers on his main channel, and he talks about productivity and time management and things like that. But on his podcast, he touches more holistic topics such as success, meaning of life, and love. The thing I love about this podcast is it's very simple and very authentic. The questions, maybe it's because he's the same age as me, maybe an year older. Maybe that's why I feel like the questions he's asking, I can relate to that questions and thoughts in my brain. So I love it. I think it's very underrated, the podcast. His channel is huge, but podcast is a small channel still, but it's amazing. Another one is Naval. My favorite episode is How to Get Rich Without Getting Lucky. Naval is he's an investor, but he's also an entrepreneur. He's kind of a modern philosopher, and if you don't know Naval, you have to check him out. This guy has so much wisdom, and the podcast is amazing. He also has a book called Almanac of Naval Ravikant, and you can check that out. It's an amazing book. It's about entrepreneurship, business, and but he mixes a little bit of philosophy, and I love that kind of talks and books where everything has an abstract view. So I love this podcast. Another health podcast is Feel Better, Live More podcast by Dr. Rangan Chatterji. It's a lot like Mark Hyman's podcast, and this one also had helped me a lot in structuring a life that prioritizes health and energy levels. This has helped me a lot in developing a holistic view about life itself. So there was an episode with Gabor Mate on childhood trauma, and it just blew my mind. You have to check him out if you're someone who is interested in healthy living and healthy eating and living a mindful, meaningful, healthy life. So these are my most favorite podcasts that I'm listening to right now, but I'm also exploring other podcasts which maybe I'll update later. I also have a few other favorite podcasts that I listen to if there's a good episode. They are School of Greatness by Lewis Howes and Tim Ferriss show. Tim Ferriss's book The 4-Hour Work Week was I have changed after reading that book. My thoughts, my outlook about society and life. It's a very simple book. But it just rewired something in my brain, and that's a book that I will definitely go back to. I want to reread it. One is Almanac of Naval, one is For a Work Week. There are a few other books too. I'll do a different episode on my favorite books so far. The list is always expanding, definitely. So these are my current favorites. I hope this helped you at least a little bit. Podcasts help me a lot to learn new things, learn new perspectives. They also help me improve my language. I think podcasts are not that edited most of the time, so it's more natural than a 10-minute video. In terms of speaking, there's something that improves your language and grammar when you listen to podcasts. That's how I feel. If you want to watch a video about how I cracked my IELTS exam with a band 8 with very less preparation, basically a week's preparation. I think I prepared for 5 days or so it's not even a week. You can check that video out next, and let me tell you, podcasts has helped me a lot in achieving that goal. So that's all for today's video. I hope you loved it. If you did, please check out other videos on my channel, check out my blog, which will be in the description. Subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, comment your thoughts. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.